Folks think Virginia's all history and tradition, but there's a bridge in Fairfax County that's got a different kind of history. Colchester Overpass, they call it, officially. But locals, they know it as Bunnyman Bridge. And that name, well, it ain't as cute as it sounds. The story goes back to 1970. Local police started getting reports, strange ones. People finding skinned rabbits hanging from the bridge. Then came October 19th. Young couple parked under that bridge thinking they had some privacy. Until something landed on their car roof. Man got out to check. Found himself staring at a figure in a white bunny suit, complete with long ears. But this wasn't no costume party. Figure was holding an axe. Started screaming about trespassing. Couple got out of there fast, but not before that axe shattered their passenger window. Police thought it was just kids playing pranks. Until Halloween night. Woman walking home, same bridge, same figure in white. This time screaming about how they were all trespassing, how the bridge was his. Started swinging that axe. She ran, but they found slash marks in her clothes. Real ones. Here's where it gets darker. Locals started digging into history. Found records from 1904. Local asylum had a breakout. Most inmates were caught. Except one. Man had been committed for murdering his family on Easter Sunday. Police found him in his blood-stained bunny costume, still holding the axe. Met a security guard last month. Works the night shift near there. Man looked tired, kind of scared. Said he'd seen something white moving under that bridge around 3 a.m. Thought it was just kids, until he heard the sound, metal dragging on concrete. Then the laughing, high-pitched, wrong kind of laughing. Found something else too. Marks on the bridge's underside. Fresh ones. Like someone's been practicing their swing with something sharp. And sometimes in the early morning they still find rabbits. Always hanging, always skinned clean. These days teenagers make it a game. Drive out there at midnight, flash their lights 3 times. Most times nothing happens. But sometimes they see him, standing in the shadows, that white suit glowing in the dark. Sometimes holding his axe, sometimes holding something worse. Drove through there myself last spring. Middle of the night, no other cars around. Caught something white in my mirrors. Thought it was just fog at first, until I heard it. That high-pitched laugh coming through my radio. Static cleared just long enough to hear someone screaming about trespassing. So if you're driving through Fairfax County and you come to an overpass that feels too dark, too quiet, don't stop. Don't look up. And whatever you do, don't flash your lights. Some legends start with truth. Some bridges hide killers. And some nights you don't want to know what's really hanging from those rafters. Some places get famous for their beauty. Golden Gate Bridge, pride of San Francisco. You've seen it in postcards, movies, tourist photos. But at night, when the fog rolls in thick enough to swallow the lights, That's when you see its other side. The dark side that's claimed over 2,000 souls. Local Coast Guard, they got a saying. The Golden Gate keeps what it takes. But it's not just about the jumpers. It's about what stays behind. What walks that mile-long stretch in the deep hours of night? When the fog turns. The streetlights into ghost halos. Met a bridge patrol officer at my usual stop last month. 20 years on the job, seen more than his share of darkness. But what kept him up at night? Wasn't the jumpers. It was the lady in red. First spotted her back in 1952. Woman in a red evening dress, walking through the fog like she was out for an evening stroll. Patrol officer stopped to check on her. Bridges closed after dark, especially in that kind of weather. But when he got close, she turned around. Face was just wrong. Empty. Then she stepped over the rail, disappeared into the fog. Never found a body. Here's the thing, though. She keeps coming back. Always in that red dress. Always in the fog. But now, she shows up when someone's thinking about jumping. Stands there, watching. Some say she tries to talk them down. Others say she beckons them to join her. Bridge workers tell stories, too. About maintenance checks in the early morning hours. About hearing heels clicking on metal when there's nobody there. About finding wet footprints leading to the rail, then just stopping. About voices in the fog, whispering names of people who haven't jumped yet. The lady in red ain't alone either. Drivers report picking up hitchhikers on foggy nights. Young folks usually, looking lost, desperate. They get in, start talking about their troubles, their plans to end it all. But when the car reaches the other side, back seat's empty. Just a puddle of seawater on the leather. Had to cross that bridge myself last winter. 3 a.m., fog so thick you could barely see the road. Caught something red in my mirror. Thought it was just taillights at first, until I realized it was moving against the wind. Radio started picking up something too. Sounded like a woman humming, then crying. Then she started listing names. Called a friend in the Coast Guard next morning. Asked about those names. Every single one. They'd found them in the bay that week. So if you're driving the Golden Gate at night and the fog starts rolling in, keep your eyes on the road. Don't stop for hitchhikers. And if you see a woman in red through the mist, don't look too close. Because some bridges, they don't just collect souls, they keep them. Some places are famous for their beauty. Some bridges hold darker secrets. And some nights that Golden Gate opens to somewhere else entirely.